Okay. And we could start.
Okay. So my name is Dawn Ostrowski. I'm from Crossroads Health. I'm a trauma specialist, and I'm going to be leading this discussion, just kind of asking you guys some questions. We are talking about the topic of mindfulness. And I just wanted to maybe throw it out there first. Does anyone here want to give a explanation of what mindfulness means? What is that word?
Are we letting the students try to answer first? I
Sure,
would love to hear.
Either way.
I would love to hear their thoughts on what it is, and then maybe Dawn can give us a better explanation if Grace and Julie, even if you guys want to type it in the chat box, one of us can read it out loud too, if you feel more comfortable that way.
There is no chat box.
Oh no.
Where is it?
I don't know why none of our teachers have it.
It could be a function that is
I think they might have disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't one. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well, you could always email us if you have questions that you don't want to say out loud too. You know, you could always email me, and I could check my email. So if you guys wanted to email me, you can keep
Mary,
checking.
look in your securities box and see if you can turn it on. They might have just turned it off.
So I guess while we do that, I'll just give my impression of what being mindful is. And for me, that's just being aware of just my actions, the things I do, my stress, my own emotions, and just, like I said, overall being aware.
I just
want to introduce myself really quick. I am Jennifer Munganell. I am from Crossroads Health as well. I am the supervisor that oversees Kirtland School District. And for me, mindfulness is, taking a breath and just pausing and being in the moment.
Definitely. So mindfulness is really the act of, like you're saying, just sort of being present in the moment, being aware of your own emotions, your own sensations, the things around you. It's kind of the opposite of what a lot of us do, which is either living in the future or living in the past. It's really just being here and being present and aware of your surroundings. So what I want to do before we continue with the introductions and asking some questions, I want to do just a guided meditation with you guys really quick. So give me one moment as I share my screen. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so and you should be able to hear the audio here too. So just read the screen and do what it says. It's basically just going to tell you to breathe in and breathe out. So we're going to watch the screen and listen to the sounds and breathe in and hold and breathe out as it's telling us to. Okay. Sorry, I had to stop it from continuing. So hopefully you guys were able to just take a moment in your day and breathe in and relax. And that's just a really quick example of mindfulness. It's stopping and noticing your breath. But we'll talk a little bit more about what that is and how it can be helpful in this discussion. So let's go ahead and continue with introductions. I'll pass it off to whoever wants to introduce themselves. I definitely want to introduce the panel and the people who will be having the discussion, but students, if you want to introduce yourself as well, you can do that.
All right, so I am Rochelle Davis. I'm also from Crossroads, and I'm one of the school-based providers at Kirtland. I am in the entire district on Thursdays.
I'm Mrs. Prozach. I think you guys know me. I'm one of the counselors at the high school.
I'm Mary Laverty. I'm one of the counselors at the high school as well. And I just want to thank our representatives from Crossroads for joining us today. We are hoping that they'll join us on a regular basis to have some discussions with our students and just on different topics that are important for our mental health. And so today we did want to take a second to talk about mindfulness because we all obviously all think that it's important and it's an important practice. And so just maybe gaining awareness as to what it is, some strategies that we can use, why it's important. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. Julia, did you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
I am Julia Stout. I am an 11th grader at Kirtland High School.
And we're so happy that Julia has joined us today to talk about mindfulness.
Great. Okay. So the next question I have for you all is, why is mindfulness important?
I can start. I think that it's important because we get so distracted. I get so distracted in my daily life. And it's very easy to just rush through from one thing to the next. And then at the end of the day, feel, frustrated. And so just being able to think about moment by moment and be present throughout my day and in the different activities that I'm doing, or even when mindful eating, or just taking a second to you know collect my thoughts, to take a break from what is going on. It just helps so much to not feel like frustrated at the end of the day for me.
So for me, I think this year has definitely been a change, and it's been hard. It's been different. I think we've all had our own stressors. Definitely working remotely and dealing with like computer issues and technology. That's been definitely hard for me and definitely stressful. So for me, being mindful of, again, how I can manage my stress in a healthy way, not being overwhelmed, and being able to relax when my workday's over.
I feel like mindfulness is important. Or what was the question? Sorry.
Just why is mindfulness important?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that was it, but I can't remember. I feel like mindfulness is important only because, like you were saying, because this year was a change, and because we're on technology now, and we rely on it more than we ever have been. With the weather being so insane, it's been hard on us, and it's been stressing everybody out that we don't know what to do. And so now people are getting angry and frustrated.
So you think it's important to help regulate emotions and keep calm and be less frustrated.
Yeah.
Great. Good answer. Jen, did you want to share?
Yes, I would. I definitely think that for mindfulness, it is such a wonderful coping strategy for anyone to use, an easy coping strategy for anyone to use, because yes, there are tools that you can access online, but it's learning how to breathe using some exercises that you don't actually need to have any tools. You can do it anywhere, whether you are sitting in a classroom, just take a moment to center. So it is definitely a strategy that is easily accessible and easy to learn.
I think for me, a lot like what Mrs. Laverty said, sometimes, there's so much going on in life and it's easy to let your brain just kind of go in a million different directions. And sometimes mindfulness is the best way for me to bring myself back in and ground myself and really just kind of remember to take one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And it really helps make the days more, less challenging.
It sounds like all of you have used this in your own personal life, especially during these times. So I kind of want to go to the next question, which is, how do you use mindfulness on a day-to-day basis? Is there a specific tool, or is there a way that you use it to help get through your day?
I'll start with that one. I actually do two different things. I have an app that has these small, 5 to 10 minute meditations. I like to do those a lot. And I also got a book for my birthday that helps you do some guided meditations each morning, every day. It's its own daily guided meditation. So, and then I journal about it afterwards.
So for me, I'm a big fan of just being able to take a couple deep breaths, especially after maybe a difficult moment or a difficult meeting that maybe had my stress levels up, to put down my phone, to shut my computer. And like I said, just take a few moments to just kind of focus on the here and now with some deep breathing.
I'm similar to Rochelle in that I think that when I'm in a situation that is, I could be like reactive about, trying to stop, not say anything, and breathe helps me to, think through a situation and use more of my, like thinking through skills and being able to really not overreact to a situation. Um, and so I could approach it in more of a calm manner. And so just being mindful of the things that I say and how I respond has been helpful in terms of just being able to breathe really and taking that moment and just pausing. Um, it's okay. I feel like sometimes I feel like I have to respond right away. And it's so easy because we're used to texting real fast and everyone wants immediate gratification, and just being able to take a step back silence is okay, and just trying to be okay with that and mindful that it's okay to take a second has helped.
Thank you. I love that you had said that it kind of helps you think more clearly. And I think that's a really important point to make, because when you are dysregulated or particularly stressed, if anyone's, taken a test, that it's hard to actually think when you're really stressed out. So when you're in that part of your brain, you're really not able to make decisions and think clearly. So it's a great skill to just kind of stop and breathe and regulate until you can kind of come down a little bit, and then suddenly you're able to problem solve and think more clearly. So that's I mean, that's brain science. That's something that actually happens if you notice that. So that's kind of why those things are connected. When we're able to use that mindfulness, we find that it helps regulate, and then we're able to think more clearly. So I love that you mentioned that.
One of the things that I wanted to share that I will do is when I am really feeling all over the place and my mind is going in so many different directions, I will do a grounding technique that, again, it doesn't need to use any true strategies, just you sitting and thinking about focusing on your five senses and just going through the five senses and thinking, okay, what is something in the room that I see? What is something that I may be touching, whether it's the chair? The one that can be a little challenging is the taste one. And if you don't get through the whole five senses, that's okay. But by going through the motion and truly thinking about each sense, that in itself is a way to just help ground you for a moment. And if you need to, just repeat it. If not, hopefully you'll be able to focus and move on to the rest of the day.
I use a Mandela coloring book. I have one right here, and I do it like in the morning because I wake up at 7. And right now, that rattling is my favorites. They make me very happy, especially right now during these times. I'm also working on a 1,000 piece puzzle, and I have a couple others that I'm about to be working on after that. It just helps me get my mind off of school and the stress that it's not stress, it's just like everything that has been going on with the world and the news and with COVID and everything. It just helps me not think about it as much. And again, with school and tests and just everything, it just helps my brain like just stop. Like yesterday when we didn't have school because of Records Day, I just did a puzzle for like 8 hours straight. And it helped my mind like just stop for the day.
Do you feel recharged after doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, you feel more ready to start the day today now that you had that break?
Yeah. And it helps, especially like with the coloring, it helps my hands like move because I need something. Like I'm more of a physical person. I mean, I don't run, I'll admit that. Even though I do marching band, I do like the stops and stuff. Because I have a Fitbit right here, and I do like it's a thing called relax, and I do the in and out. Sorry, my ferret is trying to get a bottle. But anyways, the relax is basically they have you breathe in for a few seconds and out a few seconds, and that or two. And it shows your heart rate at the beginning and at the end. It's very nice.
Julia, do you notice your heart rate decreasing when you do that?
It depends on how my day is, like especially at the end of it. And like it goes from like 60 to 70. That's like my bad days. And my good days, I'll go in between 50 and 60.
Like after you do the relax, do you
Yeah.
feel like you're more calm
Yeah.
and your heart rates come down a little?
Yeah, I mainly do that like right before I go to bed though, because it helps me like keep my brain like, okay, it's time for bed.
I'm so happy you mentioned your watch because a lot of people have smartwatches or Fitbits and Mrs. Prosich said her phone. And there are so many different apps and like programs on watches or apps that we can let you know about that are for mindfulness, and really they just will take a minute or two that or longer. Some of the apps on the phone can be longer and you can choose, but that's a really great tool to use if you wanted to know a little bit more about those.
Like, and then after school, I take 30 minutes just to like get my mind off of school. Just say, okay, I'm done for today. Take 30 minutes, and then, because I am on a low chair, it's for like gaming. So just sitting in this chair for 7 hours a day or however long we have for that day, like tomorrow we get off at 1:10 when I lost track. I can't remember. But whatever time I get off tomorrow, I get up, walk around for 30 minutes, or do whatever I have to do for tomorrow. And then I come back, do my homework, and then I'm done for that day.
So I wanted to mention one other thing before we do move on with those specific examples and tools to use. I think everyone here represents either an adult or a high school population, and mindfulness is definitely something that everyone can use, at any age. And I wanted to just give an example because this very morning, I came across a mindfulness activity with my 2-year-old, and it just kind of got me thinking, like, everybody uses this. So he was upset about something. I think we had to get going, and he kind of threw himself on the ground and was upset. And we teach deep breathing to him. So it is important at any age to regulate first before you start doing that problem solving. So with us, when he's feeling really upset, I just kind of sit with him, and then we breathe together, and we take a deep breath, and then we breathe out. And we really just take that moment. And it even gets to the point where sometimes he'll notice that I'm frustrated, and he'll say, "Mommy, let's take a deep breath." And we just breathe together. So this is really something that you can do at any age with any kids. So I want to just kind of remind, I know that this is kind of open K through 12. So for any of the elementary school and middle school, this is really relevant to you as well. It's something that we all can do. So going off of that, continuing with Mrs. Laverty, what she said, what are some specific examples or tools that you use? Is there an app? I love, Julia, that you said the Fitbit. I noticed that one day that mine said the breathe, and I never even noticed that before, but they can guide you through a little mindfulness activity. And if you use your phone app with the Fitbit, it actually has a goal for using mindfulness. I think maybe 5 days or so. So it wants you to, it's really encouraging us to try to do this every day. So that's a great example. Does anyone else have any specific apps or tools, or maybe even, I love, Jen, that you had said that you use the 5 senses. So that's a good example. So what I'm looking for here is, what are specific tools and things that you use for mindfulness?
I also use, at night, my dog lays with me. My dog Levi, he's not like a service dog or anything, but he's there for my seizures, and he just knows when I'm about to he doesn't, it's hard to explain, like he knows that I'm stressed or upset, so he comes right up to my desk and will lay next to me. It's so cute, and I just pet him and I'm fine.
Animals have such a sense, and it's great. And that's why a lot of times they can be therapy animals. But I think even just the act of petting a dog or a ferret or a pet can be mindfulness in itself. You're really just kind of taking a moment, appreciating them, feeling their fur, feeling the weight and the heat of them. There's so many sensory things involved in having a pet near you. So that in itself, yeah, it definitely can be mindfulness.
That's what I like the fact about having 9 pets.
So just like Jen, I also like the 5 senses, but I also try to do some guided imagery. So putting myself somewhere that is calming and soothing. Typically for me, that's somewhere warm on a beach. So I try to think of those senses or relive those senses that I would experience if I was somewhere warm and somewhere on a beach.
I wanted to share about how YouTube has such great mindfulness meditations. And I don't want to say a specific one because I know each person is going to find one that they prefer. But I would encourage anyone to go on YouTube and try some of them when you are not stressed, so that if you are stressed and you need to have that mindful moment, you know which one is your go-to. And they absolutely, YouTube has ones for elementary school that are appropriate to use, ones that are for middle, high school, and adults. And they have them for during the day or at night. Some are music, some are truly guided, and some even have and bring in yoga as well. So I would absolutely encourage any of you to explore YouTube, as I know many students are exploring YouTube for other interests. This is definitely one that they have bountiful, many of them, that you can hopefully find one that works for you.
I do the deep breathing, but I also learned when I was younger a mindfulness technique that I picture, imagine a big ball of warm light, and it starting from my head and then going all throughout my body. And it just makes me feel calm, and it kind of, puts me in a place that's warm, because anyone that knows me knows I'm always cold. And so it just kind of calms me down. And it is a little bit of imagery. And, I also, I feel like it kind of, heightens my senses as well. Well, and I know that we'll continue to talk about some different tools, but I did want to share my screen because I want to show our school district where they can access some of these mindfulness strategies. We will be adding more to it. So I'm going to real quick share my screen. Oops. And if anyone, students, parents, can go, teachers, to the homepage. Right in the middle of the Kirtland Local Schools homepage, there's this yellow box. It says the Hornet's Nest. That will take you right to our Hornet's Nest. And if you look on the right-hand side, it says on-demand videos. We're adding some of those YouTube links there. We also have a teacher that posted a mindfulness video as well. And some activities and resources we will start to add down here to the mindfulness, to the activities and resources. So we have the mindfulness playlist on Spotify. So if you're ever feeling stressed out and you want to just put on, a playlist, there's a playlist right there that's calming. We will add some coloring sheets there, some like slides that show some of these different techniques that we're talking about, and then the videos will be up here. So this is just another tool to use, that everything's kind of right there, or go exploring, use an app, or you can use, whatever you find. There's so many resources, but I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about that.
Thank you. You mentioned apps, excuse me, and I've heard that a couple times. I just want to note two of them that I know are really good. Is just Headspace. They have, Headspace is a website, but also an app. So they have daily meditations. I like that it can start out really simple. So as you go, you have your app, and if it's the first time you've done it, it can be a 30-second, 1-minute meditation that's really super simple. And it kind of builds on that if you want it to. You can kind of get a little bit more advanced. And the other one is Calm. So those are two apps that I think are really good for mindfulness tools, if we're looking for specific ones. So I think we've almost heard from everyone. Does anyone else have any specific specific tools or apps or activities that they like to use before we'll go on to questions?
I think I'm the last one, and I think everyone kind of covered it. I do a lot of deep breathing too, a lot of trying to just sit down and focus on, the things that the imagery, the things that make me happy, the things that make me feel calm. A lot of times it's, what makes me feel happy. So my kids usually, or being on the beach, things like that. And so a lot of you guys covered very similar things that I do too.
Something I wanted to mention real quick is that I think, I used to think that if I took a minute or two that I was wasting that time and that I couldn't do it because I had too much to do. So like in the middle of a test, if I take a minute to breathe, then I'm going to get behind and I'm not going to finish. But in reality, being able to bring yourself to a place where you are calm, and being able to then use the part of the brain that thinks through things in a more logical way, it's helpful, and it will actually save you time in the long run. So just being able to, it doesn't have to be like a long meditation. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. So mindfulness kind of runs the whole spectrum of how we can use it. I just wanted to make sure that we were thinking about those things.
I think too, what Jen said earlier, that it is important to practice some mindfulness techniques when you are calm, when you are regulated. So that way, when you're having any unpleasant feelings or emotions or stress, you're able to have some go-tos and be a little bit more of a pro at it.
In the spring or summer, whenever it doesn't come as muddy, me and my brother go to Chapin Forest or any of the parks that are around here and go walking, and we just talk about life in general. And especially this past year and this year, we have talked even on the phone. It helps us get our minds off of things. And now that my brother lives in Lakewood, him and I always talk with him in a band, and him at work. We don't really get to hang out with each other as much, and because him and I have a really strong bond, and he helps me a lot, especially through, like I said, this year, and with me being a junior, it's been a stressful year. With me looking at colleges, I mean, I have one in mind, and we're getting ready to move to Florida after I graduate. So it's going to be a big move for me.
I'm so glad you have him as a support. And it sounds like a lot of tools that you use personally. So that's great. I love that you mentioned the parks. That's such a great resource that we have here in Lake County that a lot of people don't realize. We have so many, the metro parks in general, there's so many options anywhere you live. Kirtland in general, I mean, specifically, I love Kirtland, the Chapin Forest and the North Chagrin Reservation is pretty close to you guys. And it's wonderful. So I love that you'd mentioned that being out in nature is such a great mindfulness tool. Because you're there and you're surrounded by this beautiful scenery, you can't help but stop and think and notice and appreciate. Well, I think this would be maybe the time for some questions. Although we don't have a ton of students available to give questions. I know, Julia, you've kind of jumped in as part of this panel, and I thank you so much for being such an integral part of that. Do you have any questions for us, or does anyone else want to make any sort of comments?
I would just like to add that for any students in the Kirtland district, if that you're wanting more help learning how to be mindful, maybe you have a lot going on in your life, make sure that you're reaching out to your guidance counselors. Like I said, I am there on Thursdays. So if you ever again need any additional support, us as Crossroads and obviously your Kirtland staff are here for you guys.
And we are happy to practice mindfulness strategies with students. We have done it in the past where we've had students come in that just need a second, and just helping them learn different strategies that they choose that they like, and then practicing those. We can do that. And so just make sure that you reach out.
Thank you so much. That's really important. I think it's, you guys are very lucky to have such great support in your school. And the fact that this is part of their initiative and their goals to try to promote mindfulness and wellness throughout the community really shows how supportive and again, a great resource. So use that resource. I hope that people are able to view this and practice some strategies of their own. As mentioned before, this is something that we're hoping to do throughout the rest of the year. Maybe once a month, we'll have a discussion on various topics. So please stay tuned and maybe join us in February.
I just want to say one last thing. If anybody gets stressed, just talk to a friend. I mean, especially around these times, Zoom a friend, FaceTime a friend, text a friend even, or call a friend on the phone. It helps. I mean, I have a friend that goes to North, and it helps, even on the simplest things. So, I mean, it helps with stress. It helps with anxiety, I guess. I don't know. But it just helps during COVID and changing schedules a lot. So, yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that, Julia. Yeah, we want to make sure that everyone reaches out, and that, it could be difficult at home all the time. And so reaching out to others is so important. So thank you for mentioning that. And we want to thank Dawn and Rochelle and Jennifer for taking time out of their days and their schedules to talk with us, to be a part of our panel. And we look forward to having more students. And we appreciate Julia here so much, and just more discussions on different topics that are important to us and important to our overall wellness, our mental health. And so we just are so thankful that you are willing to partner with us.
Of course, thank you for having us. So again, thank you all, and hope you have a great day. And maybe take a moment today just to kind of give yourself that time and that space and practice a little bit of mindfulness on your own or with friends or family.
Thank you guys. Thanks very much.